Mark King, born on October 1958 in Cowes on the Isle of Wight, England, is widely regarded as one of the most influential bass players of the modern era. Best known as the frontman and bassist of the jazz-funk band Level 42, King revolutionized the role of the bass guitar with his signature slap and pop technique, which became his musical trademark. King's early years were shaped by a love for drums rather than bass. As a teenager, he worked in a drum shop in London, where he gained exposure to a variety of instruments and musicians. However, financial limitations led him to switch to bass, and it was this change that defined his destiny. His percussive approach to the instrument reflected his drumming background, giving him a unique, rhythmic edge that stood out from conventional bass playing. In 1979, along with keyboardist Mike Lindup and brothers Phil and Boon Gould, King co-founded Level 42. The band quickly gained attention for their blend of funk, jazz, and pop, with King's bass lines driving their energetic sound. By the mid-1980s, Level 42 became internationally successful, with hits like Something About You, Lessons in Love, and Running in the Family. King's charismatic stage presence, combined with his vocal duties, established him not only as a bassist, but also as the face of the band. King grew up in a modest household where music was always present. His father was a drummer, and young Mark initially gravitated toward percussion. This early training shaped his strong rhythmic sensibility, which later became the foundation of his distinctive bass playing style. As a teenager, he showed an aptitude for multiple instruments, first mastering the drums and then experimenting with guitar before finally finding his true voice in the bass guitar. His early influences ranged from jazz fusion icons like Stanley Clarke to funk pioneers such as Larry Graham, whose slap technique left a lasting impression on King. In the late 1970s, King relocated to London with the dream of becoming a professional musician. Struggling at first, he took various jobs, including working as a milkman, while playing gigs in small clubs. It was during this period that he met keyboardist Mike Lindup and brothers Phil and Boon Gould. Their shared love for jazz, funk, and experimental sounds led to the formation of Level 42 in 1979. The band quickly gained attention for their technical proficiency and fresh blend of jazz fusion with a pop sensibility. King's bass playing became the signature element of Level 42 sound. His percussive, slap-driven approach was not only rhythmic, but also melodic, turning the bass into a lead instrument rather than a supporting role. This unique quality distinguished the band in the early 1980s, allowing them to stand out in a competitive music scene. Their early albums, such as Level 42 in 1981 and The Pursuit of Accidents in 1982, showcased their jazz-funk roots, but it was the mid-1980s that brought them mainstream success. The release of World Machine in 1985 and Running in the Family in 1987 catapulted Level 42 to international fame. Hits like Something About You and Lessons in Love not only climbed the charts, but also highlighted King's remarkable skill as both a bassist and a vocalist. His ability to sing complex melodies while maintaining intricate bass lines was rare and mesmerizing to audiences worldwide. By the late 1980s, Level 42 had become a global phenomenon, touring extensively and selling millions of records. Despite success, the band faced challenges including internal tensions and the departure of key members. King remained the driving force, steering Level 42 through lineup changes and shifts in the music industry. In the 1990s, as musical trends shifted, the band's commercial presence declined, but King continued to perform, record, and evolve as a musician. Today, Mark King is celebrated not only as the face of Level 42, but also as one of the greatest bass players in history. His slap technique, speed, and precision inspired generations of musicians. More importantly, his career demonstrates how innovation, perseverance, and love for music can transform a passionate player into a timeless icon. The dark side of Mark King's life beyond music. One of the most visible shadows in King's life was his turbulent relationship with fame. Coming from a modest background on the Isle of Wight, King suddenly found himself thrust into global stardom. The whirlwind of touring, interviews, and constant public scrutiny left him battling the loss of personal identity. Fame, which many assumed to be liberating, became a cage in his case. He spoke candidly in later interviews about feeling trapped within the expectations of being Mark King the superstar, while struggling to remain Mark King the man. Another dark chapter was his brush with substance abuse. The 1980s rock scene was saturated with drugs and alcohol, and King was no exception to that culture. He admitted that the lifestyle of excess, long nights, and pressure to perform pushed him into unhealthy coping mechanisms. Alcohol in particular became both a comfort and a curse, fueling temporary escapes but creating deeper fractures in his personal life. These habits not only strained his health but also eroded relationships, leaving him isolated during certain periods of his career. Beyond money and substance issues, King also endured emotional scars from personal relationships. The strain of touring and the chaotic lifestyle of a musician created rifts in his family life. His marriages suffered under the pressure, and he faced the loneliness that comes when one's professional life overshadows personal stability. Though he later reconciled aspects of his personal world, the earlier damage left him with regrets and hard-earned lessons about balance and priorities. Perhaps the most haunting struggle was the constant battle with self-doubt and mental health. Despite being hailed as one of the greatest bass players of his generation, King admitted to moments of crippling insecurity. The pressure to constantly reinvent himself, to prove his worth beyond the success of Level 42, weighed heavily. Depression lingered in the background, amplified by the sense that his career had peaked and that his identity was irrevocably tied to past glories.